guys, so it's time to talk about credible sources for your research. Okay, hopefully you have had a chance to look over the topics document, kind of the assignment overview, and you've looked at the topics and you selected, narrowed down a topic. I have not looked at those yet, but I will do that probably tomorrow, I'm guessing, either today or tomorrow. I've got quite a few conferences going on. But I want to talk about credible sources, because you guys, your next step after choosing your topic and after determining a research question is to start doing your research. And so, like, where do you even begin when it comes to research? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to share my screen, and I have a document titled Credible Resources. And so we're just going to talk about that a little bit. So again, the research assignment is 3 things you should know, and this is where you have come up with something, things that we need to know about your topic. Okay, the topic that I've kind of been going with has been like homeless military veterans, and so 3 things you should know might be, well, my question then that I narrowed it down to is what resources are available. And so then I would do my research with that in mind, okay? All right, so the first thing you're gonna do, again, you need 3 sources, 3 credible sources. So not, just a conversation with a friend of yours that has some, crazy thoughts, but you need like good researched ideas and sources. So the easiest thing to do is start with a simple Google search. So I'm going to go out here, I'm going to open another tab, I'm going to go to the Google on my machine, right? And I'm going to say resources for homeless veterans. And you know what? I noticed that there's like cities that were popping up, and I'm going to say in the DFW area. I'm gonna bring it close to home. Right now I have 3.1 million results in less than a second. Okay, so how do you dig through that to determine what's legit? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let me go back to my document here. Well, we're gonna come back to that in just a minute. Well, we can go down here. All right. So to know that a source is credible, first of all, look at the author. So I'm just going to pull one of these up. Let's see. Let me just pull up Veteran Services Emergency Assistant. Well, the first thing I know is this is a Dallas County, it's like the Dallas County website. So this is probably going to be a legitimate source, okay? I also notice up here where it says .org. That tells me it's going to be some kind of organization, maybe a nonprofit, a not-for-profit organization that will be, that is the source. Another way, if you come across, for example, an article, let's see if I can just find some articles. Let's see, a lot of the, oh, here's one. An article, it looks like, from the DallasObserver.com. So Dallas Observer, I don't know, may or may not be legit, kind of depends on your ideas, your thoughts, but you'll notice there's the name of an author here. So what I would do, first of all, you'll notice how that apparently is a live link. When I hover over it, my cursor changes. So I'm gonna click on his name and see what I can find out, see if I can find anything out. I don't want to join the community. So here's a little brief bio. So he's been a news editor. He's worked as a reporter and editor at Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, graduate of University of Missouri. For what we're doing, he's probably legit, okay? So, and literally all I did, I clicked on his name and it took me to this. If it's not a live link, you can always open up a new search tab, and this is what I'm telling my on-ramp seniors. We've been doing a ton of this. What was his last name? Silas what? Allen. And, 'cause oh, here's some stuff on Twitter. Journalist, articles by him. So he's probably the Houston Press news editor. Okay, so he looks like he is a legitimate author, that he would be a credible author. Okay, so I'm going to go back to his article, and now I can look at this article. That is not what it was. Anyway, so I can go back to his article and I can find, there it is. And I can read up what he has to say. All right. So again, that's one way to find your source. You're just literally going to go out to Google, find, type in your question and see what comes up. You can also look at the date of the source, about whether or not that research information would be relevant. If it's an article that's like 10 years old, you don't want to use that. I will say that with my UT on-ramps rhetoric seniors, that the editorials that they're using can be no more than 2 years old, okay, because they're looking at current controversies. So I would say to look at the date, and if you have something that's like 5 years old, I bet you could find something newer. All right, again, the sources themselves, I jumped ahead, didn't I? The sources themselves, credible websites, just like books, just like your scholarly articles, they're going to cite the source of the information that's presented. And we're going to look at that here in just a minute, what is meant by that. Some domains can be purchased by an individual. However, edu.edu is reserved for colleges and universities. A lot of times you might have university professors that have a blog, and a university professor, they are basically experts on their subject, experts in their field. They've done the schooling, and actually to be a university professor, you have to continually do research and continually publish, be it peer-reviewed journal articles or books or things like that. So generally, if you come across a blog, it may or may not be a good source, it may or may not be credible, but if it's from a university professor with that edu domain, that's usually going to be a credible source. Okay, and again, going back to the .org, and that's usually a nonprofit organization, sometimes they might have kind of not a hidden agenda, but if it's a nonprofit organization, they're trying to get support for their particular cause. And so they're going to be very, very biased. So just be aware of that. If you're on a website and you can't find some of the information, as my seniors have been researching, they've come across some sites, and it's just like really hard to find the information, it's sort of like the publication information. I would be cautioned at that. And then finally, the writing style. If there's a lot of grammatical mistakes and spelling errors, that's probably not going to be a really good source. Okay, but generally, with what we're doing, you're probably not going to come across the bad site design or the writing style. We're not getting that in depth with what we're doing. So let's go back up to the top here. Again, the simple Google search. Wikipedia has gotten kind of a bad rap over the years. I actually did a search for homeless military veterans in Wikipedia, and this was one of the things that came up, was information on the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans. Okay, and again, the question, actually, what did I type in? I think I typed in resources for homeless military veterans, and what it came up with, it kind of corrected it, and it said resources for homeless veterans. And so I clicked on that, and then it brought up a list of possible resources. So I was familiar with the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, so I clicked on this. So there's really good information on Wikipedia. I like the way it's set up. It has kind of a summary of, in this case, the organization or whatever your topic is. it gives you a kind of a table of contents, and then it goes through it. Now you'll also notice as you read, there are numerous live links. If you scroll all the way down where it says notes, they coincide with these notes. Now, if you find some information on Wikipedia that you want to use, for example, it says, well, that's not where I was going. Let me come up here. All right, so this number 1, this is going to coincide under the notes with the first note. So this is telling you, hey, this is where we found this information. And so instead of using the information in Wikipedia, what you'll want to do is see if you can get to the original source. Of course, that one's not found. It's archived. Okay, okay, and so here is the original source. And so this would be a good place to get the information, all right, is from the original source rather than Wikipedia. All right, and again, there's also, you know, again, as you hover, there might be some information there that you might be able to use. Okay, so Wikipedia, again, Wikipedia, it's a lot more credible now than it was in the past, but I will tell you, college professors, they'll just like, no, they just won't have any part of that. All right, newspapers and magazines. This is honestly, this is what I would go with for you guys. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Dallas News. You can even look on pages like CNN, NPR, and I can put a link to some of these. Matter of fact, maybe I'll do that before I put this out there on Google Classroom. Maybe I'll link up some of these possible credible sources. But yeah, newspapers and magazines are very, very rich sources of information relating to current events, and especially relating to controversies. You'll want to look on it's called the op-ed, meaning opinion editorials or editorials. These would be, again, really good sources. Be aware, again, an opinion article is going to be very biased. They are trying to get you to believe something. All right, scholarly databases. Again, for what we're doing, we're not going to worry about that. Google Scholar is also an excellent source for scholarly articles. What do I mean by a scholarly article? Let's go back here, and we're going to go with Google Scholar. And these are your peer-reviewed, research-based scholarly articles. So I'm going to look on resources available for veterans. And here's a ton of resources that come up. And again, I'm going to say since 2020, because I don't need like a million years worth. All right, so these are going to be the most relevant, and I'm down to about 3,300 results. I didn't notice what the range was or how many I had before. All right, so these are some things that that came up with your scholarly articles. Okay, so again, begin with a simple Google search. Avoid Wikipedia unless you use the original sources. Newspapers and magazines, honestly, I would, for what we're doing, I would focus on newspapers, magazines, and the news sources. And again, I'm gonna link some up on this before I shoot it out there to y'all. And then scholarly databases and Google Scholar are really good possibilities as well. All right, again, ideas on how to tell if a source is credible. And then finally, what I'm gonna ask you guys to do is when you find your sources, I've given you kind of a note card that you'll be able to edit, and you will need to, this will help you put together your MLA citation. So you're going to write down the author's first and last name, the title of the website or the article or the book, the titles of any chapters or sections. So for example, if you come across a section from a book, then titles of chapters would be, you know, chapter 3, and then whatever the title of the chapter is. If there are any editors, magazines, there's probably going to be an editor involved, possibly with a book, the publisher, your publication, and then the website or URL. Okay, and so then when you put all these together in that order, that will be your MLA citation. Okay, let's see. All right, I've also given you guys a link to Purdue OWL. OWL is Online Writing Lab, and this is from Purdue University, and this is one of the best, like ever, resources to have. As a matter of fact, I would go up here and the little star up there in your search bar, I would star it and save it on your computer, because if you're sticking with the AP route, if you are even thinking about on-ramps rhetoric for your senior year, this will become a go-to of how to cite your sources. So this will tell you, you can type some information in here. You can even type in the URL. For example, let me, I don't want Google Scholar right now. I'm going to go to npr.org and I'm going to find something. Where's my search bar? There it is. Sometimes you have to kind of look around for the search bar. So I'm going to search for resources, same thing. Research, okay. And let's see, I'm just going to pull one up. And so I can take the link, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go, where'd my Purdue OWL go? There it is. And I'm going to put my URL in here. And y'all, it does beautiful things. Did it do it? It didn't do it. Okay, it doesn't always do it. You know, I've got so many things popping up on my computer right now. Oh, I don't know if you can see all of them. It's making things difficult. Okay. Oh, so like I see what happened. I'm sorry. So this is when I put in that link, that URL, this is what popped up. So it's saying, hey, here's what we found. Is this what you're looking for? So yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, that's actually is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to tell it to cite. It's asking me to review the information, the article title, the URL, the website, NPR, and accessed it on April 30th. It was published. Okay, it all looks good. So I'm going to continue. What am I citing? It's an article. Starred boxes. Okay, I'm going to go back over to it, see if I can figure out the author. Quill Lawrence. Okay, so I'm going to add this in here. I'm going to add his name. Where'd it go? Oh, hang on, I'm going to the wrong form. I'm just going to get y'all confused, aren't I? Oh, Quill Lawrence, there it is. Online publication, NPR, the website. It was published. Okay, so I'm going to complete the citation. Okay, and there it is. So I'm going to, if on your final project, you'll simply copy this and you'll put it on the final slide. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse y'all too much because I'm literally kind of trying to work through this, kind of doing it cold. So you'll see that even I kind of have to, you know, dig around sometimes. Okay, so that's how you're going to, oh, that's what I was doing, is you would then copy that citation. And I'm going to put it in here. Okay, and there's my first citation. All right. So again, I went to Purdue OWL and I just kind of walked through the steps there. So again, you're going to find your 3 sources to use for your final project. Okay. So hopefully I didn't confuse y'all too bad or get y'all too messed up. Let me stop sharing my screen. Actually, no, I'm going to stay here for a minute. So again, the main thing you're looking for is 3 sources, 3 informational sources that can that provide information on your particular topic. And I'll look at your topics and make sure you've kind of fine-tuned enough here in the next day or 2 before y'all can get started on this next week. By the end of next week, so by the end of the week that starts with Monday, May the 4th, you need to have all 3 of your sources, and then we'll put together that final project the next week. Okay, things you can go ahead and get started on. One of the slides in your final presentation is the mood board, where you have the images that reflect your particular topic, that represent your particular topic. Okay, so you can absolutely go ahead and get started on that. You can absolutely get started on that next slide as a summary, and then we'll start the research next week. Okay, so, and again, as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you are confused, I know some of you are just like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Literally start on the calendar each week, look at the instructional video that gives you all the directions, and go from there, okay? So yeah, that's all I got for you. So I hope you're doing well, and I look forward to seeing your topics and your projects.